Hey everybody, this is Tiffany here, and I am here to encourage you to check out the single Alone. I really would love it if you would take a listen to it. Lisa, who's my mother-in-law, she actually wrote the song, and we did a collaboration on it, and then also recorded a version where I'm singing alone. On Alone, and I would love for you to check it out. But before I do, I want to actually share a couple of things with you that are on my heart specifically about this song and some lessons that I feel like God has been teaching me and that hopefully can be of benefit to you even as you listen to this song. A lot of times when we hear the word alone, we think kind of negatively, like loneliness and painful things and loss. But actually, being alone with Jesus is the best place, I think, to be, period. And I was thinking a little bit about how important it is that we spend time, yes, in fellowship and with other believers, but it's so important that we have alone time with Jesus. Because in that alone time, God is able to minister things to our heart without distraction. And I found in my own life that those have been the times where God brought peace and healing that really did pass my understanding. And I'm sitting on my living room floor because this is the place where God has actually brought so much healing into my own life when I've been just me and Him, nobody else around, in His presence, worshiping, praying, crying, talking to Him about the things on my heart that don't make sense, painful things that I've walked through. And recently, somebody asked me a question about like a time in my life when I went through something that was difficult and how my faith helped me with that. And I was sharing with them one example of when my dad had passed away and he had battled cancer for years. And I prayed and prayed and prayed and believed and knew that God could heal my dad because I know that God is able. But God ended up choosing to take my dad. And obviously, I had so many why questions. Did I not have enough faith? Why didn't you answer this? Is there maybe some reason that I don't understand? And when you walk through difficult times or loss and things that don't make sense to our mind or betrayals, it's really hard to not want why answers. And what I was sharing with them was, as I kept running to the Lord and getting alone with Jesus, it was His presence that became enough for my healing. And I didn't necessarily need to know the why behind every situation anymore. And it was because in His presence, it was so amazing. It was something that I couldn't really explain, but being alone with Him, He started to heal things in my heart that I can't really explain with human logic. And recently I've spent a lot of time on my living room floor in prayer, and I have found that just my alone time with Jesus has been better than anything I could explain, because there's healing and hope and peace and answers to questions in His presence. And it might not always be the kind of answers we want, but the answers for me were that He is enough. Being alone with Jesus is enough. And that's where no matter what circumstances I was going through or am going through, being alone with God brings this peace and joy that I can't explain. And I was thinking that even Jesus sets this example for us when He was here on earth, where He withdraws often to be alone. And people were pulling at Him all the time, and He was healing and restoring people. And you'll notice as you read that a lot of times after that, He goes and withdraws to be alone to pray. And there's a particular example in Matthew chapter 14 where actually His friend John is killed. And this verse just is so powerful because after his friend is killed, it says this in verse 13. It says, when Jesus heard what had happened, He withdrew by boat privately to a solitary place. And so I encourage you, whatever you're walking through, if it's loss, if it's betrayal, if it's a financial struggle that you're dealing with, or depression, whatever it is, getting alone with Jesus will give you something that no one else can give to you. And as you listen to this song, I just hope that you can get alone somewhere and spend time with His presence. Be honest, cry out to Him about the things that are on your heart. You don't have to ever hide those things from the Lord, but be alone, be under His shelter, and just see and experience what God can do even when you don't feel like being alone with Him. Maybe you feel like filling it with noise and filling it with busyness. and trying to distract yourself from whatever that pain is, if you actually push through and get alone with Jesus, I promise you that you'll come out with things that no one else could do and no other circumstance could fix. And it's just simply by being alone with him.